Hey, good morning. It's Doug Stein with PPE Advantage in Chicago. It's Friday, and I am lucky enough to have Phil Bennett with me. He's the CEO of Agababy in Vietnam, and this guy is on the ground in Vietnam. He's actually lived there. And Phil, give us just a little bit brief background and history of how you ended up in Vietnam and what you're doing.
Hey, thanks for having me here, Doug. So I've had my business since 2016, where we've been manufacturing apparel, women's and children's apparel. And we moved over the last few years, we moved a lot of operations from China to Vietnam. And in 2019, before the pandemic, I actually moved out to Vietnam with my family. I wanted to work closer with some of the manufacturers we were working with here and just build some new, expand business here. I knew there was a ton of opportunity. Vietnam is the #1 fastest growing economy in the world for this year, for 2021. So I wanted to take advantage of those opportunities. And I was supposed to just be here a year, and then the pandemic hit, and the travel got restricted in and out, and things were kind of going well. Got into new business and PPE as well. And so, yeah, I'm still here for an undetermined amount of time.
And you're in Hanoi, right? Versus Ho Chi Minh.
Correct.
Right? Hanoi is beautiful. I love it. Been there many, many times. And your kids love it too, right?
I'm sorry?
Your kids love it too, right?
Oh, yeah. My kids love it here.
It is a beautiful city and super kind people. And so that's awesome that you're living there, even though you got stuck during COVID. It's still, there's worse places to be stuck, right? So I saw your video on LinkedIn. This is how we caught up. I saw your video on LinkedIn and I thought to myself, holy smokes, how did this Yankee me get into Vietnam? You know, because I know there's like travel restrictions. And I can't get there, otherwise I would have already been there, but you've been there already. So I reached out from your video because you were doing an inspection, a glove inspection with TUV, which was fascinating. And I asked, hey, can we talk a little bit? We have some similar backgrounds in fashion, and I ended up saying, hey, will you do this interview with me this morning? So just an FYI, you told me you have like 10 kids playing at your house right now, ranging from like 1 to 10 or something. And so to get away from the noise, you're at a Hanoi coffee shop for me. So I appreciate that at night. Let's talk about the glove situation in Vietnam for a minute. You're really knowledgeable about what's really happening on the ground there. So if you want to spend a few minutes talking about, let's break it down and talk about repacking. Let's talk about real inspections. We'll talk about Superior for a moment. And then I want to focus a little bit on Vgloves, because you're very familiar with those. So there's really only 3 factories, real factories in Vietnam, right? It's Coi Han,
Right.
which I think changed its name to VRG, and then Ever Global, or what is it? Ever
Global,
yeah, which is owned by Premier Mountain out of Taiwan. And then there's Nam Viet, right? So anyway, go ahead. Give us a little rundown and educate us.
Okay, sure. So correct. So those are really the 3 manufacturers in Vietnam, the 3 510K suppliers out of Vietnam. Of those 3, the only one that I've ever heard anyone actually like getting allocation of gloves from, including myself, is VRG, is Vglove. Superior, no way. Same thing, Nam Viet is real, but I mean, I think that they were sold out for years, like at the beginning of the pandemic. So, none of these really, So, none of these, Vietnam is not as large of a glove supplier, even comparably compared to like Malaysia or Thailand. I mean, or even China, I think. So Vietnam, they have a few major glove brands, and they do have their own, nitrile glove production, but it's not a major nitrile glove manufacturing country. There are also a lot of OEMs or repackers. And what I would say about those is kind of like we can't put them all into one category as just repackers, because you have to look at a normal business model. For example, in Vietnam, any brand, like clothing company like Nike, their largest, most of their production is done in Vietnam. Nike doesn't own their factories here. They use OEMs and they control the brand and the distribution. Same thing in gloves business, not just in Vietnam, in all the countries. There's also the same thing where there are OEMs that are good at making gloves, and they provide gloves to multiple companies that own brands and distribution.
Right. So and those are repackers.
And I mean, but they're not necessarily, so there are some companies that are literally repacking that might be buying like one brand of gloves and taking out and putting it into their box. Or there are more likely like following the Nike model where they're buying in bulk. like they're just buying all the gloves unpacked, fresh off the factory, and then instead of the factory packing them into their branded boxes, they're doing it at their location because they care to do it to make the extra margin. They have the distribution, they have the brand, the certifications, whatever the case may be. So there are many legitimate companies that do that are like the same gloves that you might be getting from like, any brand name. And then there are others that are like, that are a major risk. And the reason why I would say that they're a major risk is because they don't control their own production. So like if you're working with a factory and you gave a factory a deposit, like, yeah, they could have problems. Chances are they are going to have problems right now, but the problems are more likely going to be them being late on your order, more likely than them not delivering your order because they have the tools to deliver it. It's just like whatever, your order got bumped or they don't have the raw goods or whatever it may be. But at some point in time, you probably get your order. But with these guys, if you gave them a deposit, that money then was passed on. If they weren't completely, maybe if they're crooks, they just took the money. But if they were, trying to even deliver you gloves, that money still went to another supplier. It's like if you gave your money to a broker and that money then went to somebody else, that broker no longer controls your money. Now somebody else has your money. It's kind of out of your control. It's not a good situation for you.
And then that repacker can't pay you back because their money's gone. And that's happened to so many people. And it's not really the repackers. It's not really the repacker's fault. It's their model that's at risk because they'll go out to buy OEM or bulk goods or whiteboard in Thailand or China, and those people steal from them. So now they've lost your deposit. And then it becomes like a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid where they're trying to get more orders so they can pay your deposit back or find another supplier to get the raw goods so that they can pack them in their boxes, and it just collapses. And that's all I'll say. There are some decent repackers, and repacking has been going on for a long time, well before COVID. But now there's a bunch that started that tried to get up and running and either had trouble with production and lost everybody's money, but they really tried, and they're trying to find ways to pay it back. Or if some that got going realized they couldn't do it and just said, F it, man, we're just going to take the money and run. And that's a lot of them as well. And we've named a ton of them, like Amy Pharma, Sam's Gloves, Kitschy. There's a myriad of them in Vietnam. Vietnam is super dangerous, as is Thailand. Anyway, so that kind of talks about repacking a little bit, and then we should probably move into like Superior and Vgloves because you're kind of an expert with VRG. So I want to get to that for sure.
Okay, sure. On Superior, I can't speak too much on it other than that I've never seen or heard of it actually being available. From my understanding, the gloves either before all went from Vietnam straight to Taiwan, or they didn't even make the gloves here and they just did the packaging in Vietnam and then it went to Taiwan. Either way, it wasn't. Go on.
I'm fortunate enough to know one of the owners of Everglobal, which is the owners of Precious Mountain out of Taiwan, and they have 5 factories, Everglobal being one of them. And I can tell you that they haven't produced Superior for export since April of last year. And he's gone on record many times on LinkedIn to dispute any facts of anybody bringing in the Superior brand into the United States or anywhere else. So it's just not happening. They're doing other brands. They're not exporting into the US. And Shi Lao is very vocal about that on LinkedIn. So that's Superior. It's not available. You can't get it. I don't know what's coming out of Everglobal right now, but it's not going to the US. And then they have VRG, which is kind of near and dear to your heart, right?
Yes. So VRG is attainable. I know because my partner actually has a contract with VRG, and I invested in that contract, so I own a large part of it. Now, what would surprise people, it's funny, like when I tell them what the capacity actually is, everyone's surprised at how small it is. They're like, VRG, like million boxes. Nope. So, and also how long it took to get and how expensive it is. So, and these are the realities of what it really is. So when I see like, you just shared a video with me earlier today, Doug, of a guy on the ground in LA, I think, with like 100,000 boxes of Vglove. And I'm like, that's not what V-Glove cases look like. That's not what their box looks like. And it said it's made in China, licensed by V-Glove. I'm like, no, V-Gloves are not made in China. And, you know, V-Glove is a brand. It's not a company. Brands don't license. It would be licensed by the company, of which it's state owned by the Vietnam government. There's no way they license that to the Chinese. So
Right.
no, it didn't happen. So the reality is, like, I'll just tell you, like, my experience is, like, I invested in a deposit on a VRG schedule in September. I put money in September. Since then, I've gotten V-Glove from VRG, inspected it via SGS in Vietnam and exported it to the US, but not from this one, not from the actual, like, direct contract. The direct contract, the first delivery is going to be the first week of April. That's about 6 months. It took about 6 months. My partner has, you know, relationships with Vietnam government, had lunches with the chairman of VRG, and a lot of other things happened between now and back then. So after all that, what is the production schedule? It's 1 20-foot container per month for 12 months. Okay, so it's 15,000 boxes per month for 12 months. Their overall capacity, as I know you know, is like in like the 1 to 2 million box a month range. Right now, they might be doing more. I mean, hey, maybe they're buying from others. I don't know. They also have an OEM right next door to VRG, Vgloves, that they also own.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess Vgloves is like number 4 in Vietnam too, but that's kind of
they
related.
Don't have 510K.
Yeah.
Interesting. So to kind of recap, you're saying, so a lot of the V-Gloves that are on the ground in the US, especially anything more than like a 20 or 40-foot container, are, you know, very questionable because they're not using the real boxes. They're not using the real master cartons. Some of it's getting produced in China. It's not real stuff. It's probably one of the most counterfeited brands, certainly the most counterfeited brand out of Vietnam. And it's unfortunately, it's lost a lot of shine because of that. And that's just a shame because, you know, it's a good old factory, but, you know, they just got kind of muddled up in this mess. So go ahead.
Right. So let me put it like this with VRG. If, first of all, any box and carton, any box I've seen has Vietnamese writing on it. So it should have the actual Vietnamese language writing on the box. The cartons look like the one I told you, like, if you look at my profile picture on LinkedIn, those are real. Those are what real V-Glove cases look like. And there should be an SGS inspection done on site at the factory. If somebody has containers, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of V-Glove product in the US, but no SGS, I'll be like, how would somebody spend $500,000 to import this and not do a $2,000 whatever SGS report? Because they couldn't do the report because SGS will only do the inspection at the manufacturing facility. So if somebody has real V-Glove, there should be an SGS report. As people that have bought V-Glove from me before know, that had an SGS report. There should be an SGS report, and that would basically verify that it came from the correct origin. SGS is not going to do a V-Glove inspection in China. No way. They're only going to do it at VRG. So I mean, if it has the SGS report and you know, there's proof of like either the contract or invoice or something, then it's real. If those things can't be provided, then, you know, it's, I would be concerned.
So,
or if it's a large quantity.
So what, you got any closing words, any parting words before I let you go back to your house full of kids, which would be a hell of a lot more fun than what we're doing here?
No, this is fun, Doug. Don't worry. I would just be realistic about it. You know, I'll look at, like, let me tell you like this. If you buy V-Glove on the ground in Vietnam, it's like, you know, almost $12 on the ground. So just keep that in mind of what is really happening. So then when you hear something that sounds so great, even like emotionally, like, we get excited about these things, let's just be practical about it. So we don't go down the same road as what we talked about, these repackers that might not have had bad intention. They might not be bad guys, but they ended up doing something bad by being irresponsible. So let's not, you know, just to all of us to avoid going down that road, let's just be, you know, practical and reasonable and understand it. Like, you know, everything has a fair value to it. And is it a fair to link to, if you don't make $5 a box of gloves by connecting two people. It's just that's not a true value in the
Right.
world. And if you think that
Good
is, it's
point.
too good to be real. You know.
Very good point. Hey, well,
Yeah.
listen, Phil, it was a pleasure. Thanks so much. And, you know, keep those videos coming. That one with TUV was great. And we love to see, you know, some people on the ground doing it for real. I wish I could be over there. I'm super jealous, but I'll live vicariously through you until I can get on a plane. And thanks so much. And I appreciate it. And be safe over there. All right.
All right. Thank you, Doug.
Have a great weekend. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.